to the future, the cutting edge in aircraft development. Technology that knows when you're happy. And the dawn of the electronic age. The Russian Falcons aerobatics team at the recent MAX International Aviation and Space Show. It's Russia's largest biennial air show, designed to demonstrate the country's achievements in the space and aviation industries. The 5-day event attracted 550,000 people, including international trade delegations. The top Russian fighter in the show, the Su-35, is an upgrade of the Su-27, which has been the mainstay of the Soviet and then the Russian Air Force for almost a quarter of a century. And it will remain so until the very secret PAK-FA comes off the drawing board.
The Su-35 is a 4-star category fighter. All its characteristics have been improved. It has higher manoeuvrability, more powerful engines, and a substantially increased range. It is capable in air-to-ground, air-to-air, and air-to-sea missions.
Aircraft makers such as Sukhoi have had lucrative export orders for their fighter jets from China and India, but the company is seeking civilian customers. Sukhoi has developed a new regional passenger jet, the Superjet 100. It made its first public debut at the show. The company says it already has orders for 122 of the new passenger aircraft. Other Russian aircraft makers, such as Tupolev and Ilyushin, have been far less successful than Sukhoi in gaining civilian orders. So far, the Su-47 can only be seen in model form. It represents the next generation of stealth fighters that will replace the Russian Air Force's current workhorse, the Su-35. The Russian domestic market is keen for joint projects with partners in other countries. Saab's lightweight multi-role combat aircraft, the Gripen, is the backbone of Sweden's Air Force. For close to 2 centuries, Sweden has followed a policy of armed neutrality, and the Gripen was designed with a particular set of capabilities that helps Sweden meet this objective. The Gripen is able to take off and land on public roads, which means it can operate even when the Air Force does not have air superiority. During the Cold War, Swedish defence planners realised the country could be overrun. But with a decentralised military, they calculated that they could continue to inflict damage to an occupier. This strategy remains in place, and the Gripen is able to operate with only the most basic ground support. The aircraft's low infrastructure requirements have made it attractive to air forces in countries that only have basic support systems. The Gripen fighter can be refuelled and rearmed in 10 minutes by a 5-man mobile ground crew operating out of a truck. High-speed performance and short-field takeoff and landing characteristics have been achieved with a combination of a delta wing with canards. The Gripen also has in-flight refuelling capability to increase its range. It is fitted with a retractable fuel probe. To support the pilot during extended range missions, the fighter has an onboard oxygen generation system. The Gripen cockpit is dominated by 3 large full-colour multifunction displays and a wide-angle diffractive optics heads-up display. The efficient human-machine interface substantially eases pilot workload. Although circumstances have changed with the end of the Cold War, the Gripen's versatility means it is well suited for peacekeeping missions, which have become the new focus for the Swedish Armed Forces. Because high-G, close combat air-to-air missions are difficult to simulate accurately on the ground, a two-seat version of the Gripen was designed to improve tactical training. It has a longer fuselage to accommodate the rear cockpit, but the cannon has been deleted to give the two-seater the same flight performance as the single-seat version. Saab is actively marketing the Gripen around the world. The company believes the fighter is attractive to air forces with restricted budgets that cannot take advantage of the expensive, high-maintenance fifth-generation fighters now being built. Gripen is in service with the Swedish, Czech Republic, Hungarian and South African Air Forces, and Thailand will soon take delivery of its first Gripen order. The UK Empire Test Pilot School is also operating Gripen as its advanced fast jet platform for test pilots worldwide. Recently, Tokyo's Kaihin Express Railway Company introduced a smile scan for their personnel. The aim is to help the staff improve their communication skills. Railway stations at peak hour are always crowded, and even in polite Tokyo, there is room for improvement in relations between very busy staff members and the tightly packed commuters. A scanning device is able to detect how broadly a staff member smiles by calculating the curve of their mouth. The company's station employees are encouraged to test their smile before they head to the platforms and ticketing areas to assist passengers. Although it is not compulsory for the employees to use the smile detector every day, all 107 employees at Shinagawa Station, one of the city's main railway stations, have tested their smile. Mitsui Endo checks her smile every morning. It's a bit like a mirror that can give feedback. Her work keeps her in constant contact with the public, and she knows people will approach her more readily if she appears cheerful. She feels it's good to have an objective test to help her maintain a happy disposition, which helps her communicate more smoothly with the commuters.
Smiling helps our interaction with the passengers. I think the atmosphere becomes more relaxing with a smile.
Taichi Takahashi, who works for the Public Relations Department of the company, said that the introduction of the scanner has helped with the 250,000 passengers who pass through Shinagawa Station every day. The device is installed in 15 large stations out of a total of 72 stations that the company operates. Face scanning technology is also being used to prevent underage smokers from buying cigarettes. Despite a worldwide backlash against smoking, in Japan, it's still seen almost everywhere. One reason for this is that cigarette vending machines can be found almost everywhere, from train stations to street corners. Not everyone can buy cigarettes. In addition to license-based or card-based vending machines, there's a new machine with a facial recognition feature designed to block sales to minors. It will analyse a face to determine whether a buyer is 20 years old, the legal age in Japan.
I'm 19 years old, and I think this can really prevent underage smoking, and it's a really good thing.
The face check vending machines do away with special ID cards. Company representative Shinji Sasaki explains.
Our face-checking machines, even if you don't have a card, by just moving your hand and pushing a button, the machine can check and allow you to buy cigarettes.
ただボタンを手を動かしてボタンを押していただいてちょっと静止していただくだけでですね、判断してくれますので購入できると。
Once the face checking system confirms that the buyer is over 20 years old, it is simply a matter of inserting money and making a product choice. The face recognition technology is being trialled for a number of different applications. Omron, one company involved in face recognition, is exploring its use in better cameras and automotive protection alerts that can tell when a driver is becoming drowsy.
It can identify right now age and gender. It can tell you how much someone is smiling. It can tell you if a driver of a vehicle is sleepy or looking off the road. And we're hoping someday that it will be able to tell you people's moods in general, not just whether or not they're happy, but for example, if they're distressed or angry, that's a direction we'd like to take it in the future.
But the big interest is in smile recognition. The idea here is to incorporate the technology into a camera that can decide the best moment to take a photograph, the moment when everyone is smiling. Facial recognition is also used in the field of robotics. Robots can now be programmed to identify individuals. Wakamaru can recognise the faces of people that have been recorded, respond when spoken to, and meet a person's gaze. While the face check system in vending machines can be more convenient than the access card method, it does take some time to get used to and to learn how to use it. The system is designed to eliminate the inconvenience of applying for a proof of age card, but health experts say it only makes it easier to get cigarettes, while the habit should be discouraged. Modern urban life is polluted with noise. Major roads, construction sites, and low-flying aircraft are big contributors to a background din that has become an unwelcome feature of 21st century life. Now, a new study is suggesting that urban noise is more than just an annoyance. It's becoming a health hazard. The Hyena report looked at 140 people living near 4 major airports across Europe. It found a direct and almost instant connection between noise and high blood pressure. High blood pressure is a major contributing factor in cardiovascular disease, a big killer in developed countries. The Hyena report. Hyena is a contraction of hypertension and exposure to noise near airports. Gathered data around airports in Greece, Italy, Sweden, and from areas near London's Heathrow, which handles almost 500,000 flights each year. Noise pollution is becoming a contentious issue. Lack of sleep due to excessive noise has led to the launch of mini sleep centres, such as this one which opened in France a couple of years ago. People come here to escape the workplace and grab a quick nap. The coordinator of the Hyena study, Dr. Lars Jarup, explains the connection between sleep, noise and blood pressure.
We made some quite intense study of some of the people there during one night, where we measured blood pressure continuously during the night and also measured the noise levels at the same time. And we found that there were peaks in the blood pressure just after a noise event. And that was regardless if it was an aircraft or if it was a lorry passing by the house, or indeed if it was the partner snoring or something like that. So any noise would give a small but quite clear increase in blood pressure.
He believes there are clear long-term implications for the health of people exposed to noise, especially noise from aircraft. Researchers are now analysing the saliva samples taken from participants in the study group to determine whether sound can increase stress levels within the body. A different strand of the research is attempting to confirm initial findings that there was a connection between noise and a corresponding increase in medication. The early results suggest that this increase was not just in drugs to treat blood pressure. Some participants in the study were reliant on tranquilizers and sedatives. The report claims noise affects our emotional responses, creating anger, which may magnify and prolong other factors such as the increase in blood pressure. Airports are already facing strong opposition from environmentalists, who say airlines are contributing to global warming, as well as residents who fear that their quality of life and health will decline. Heathrow Airport's 5th terminal was built in the face of angry demonstrations and planning investigations. Now, the British government has given the go-ahead to the airport's application for a third runway, and the campaigners against it are gearing up for another round of battles. Olive groves around the Mediterranean are often attacked by the olive fruit fly. They lay their eggs inside the olives and cause the damaged fruit to fall early, and olive oil made from these fruits can contain impurities that make it unacceptable. Early detection of the pest is essential before steps can be taken to eradicate infestations. Up to now, the presence of the olive fly has been monitored with the use of sticky yellow traps hanging from the branches. Now, researchers are testing a network of wireless sensors to detect the olive fruit fly as soon as they are present. Called Maslanet, it's the result of a collaboration between the University of Zagreb and Siemens. Small traps containing an enzyme that attracts the flies also have a high-resolution camera. Adjacent sensors collect data on the microclimate, and yet more sensors on the ground collect data on humidity and the temperature of the soil. Data and photographs are regularly transmitted to a central computer at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computing in Zagreb, where they are processed. A team, led by Professor Vedran Bilas, started the project in October 2007.
We take a high-resolution photograph of a fly of around 2 megapixels. It's processed locally at the sensor hub itself. That's how we get the information, whether there are any flies on the sticky plate in the trap and how many of them there are at any given moment. Parts of the photograph are compressed in a particular way and communicated with the ZigBee protocol to the local server, which is located nearby.
At Zagreb University, a team is refining the software and hardware to make such monitoring systems reliable. An algorithm has been developed that can recognise the difference between harmless insects and the undesirable olive fruit fly. The object is to develop a practical system of wireless sensor networks that can benefit agriculture. To make field systems that do not need regular visits, the group devised a local server powered by solar cells. To save energy, the sensors will go into sleep mode when they are not required. Other field units can operate for up to 3 years on just one AA battery. Information nodes are built in a modular manner so that the same parts of the system may be used for different purposes, keeping production costs down. Net functionality and electronic and mechanical design will be tested during the trial phase. Requirements for the system's next generation will also be defined during this phase.
One of the key modules is this radio module, which is identical at all hubs. It consists of a network processor, transmitter, wireless receiver, and an antenna. Such a module is a part of every hub, regardless of its application.
The collected data on the olive fruit flies, along with details about the temperature, humidity and solar radiation, will be available on the internet for olive grove owners. That will make low-impact production much easier and automatic watering more feasible, as well as reducing the use of pesticides. According to the Croatian Agricultural Extension Institute, Croatian olive grove owners produce approximately 36,600 tonnes of olives and 5.5 million litres of olive oil every year. Zvonko Pavlovic is the owner of an olive grove where he is testing scientific methods of agricultural production.
Every year, more and more olive grove owners are choosing to apply ecological methods. So, in a year or two, when we join the European Union, most of the owners will be ready. And, with projects such as this one, we're closer to the European Union in a technological sense too.
Olives have been cultivated around the Mediterranean since ancient times. They are an important crop in southern Europe, where olive oil is used extensively as a cooking medium. This area produces 93% of the world's olive oil. With no cholesterol and being rich in monosaturated fats, olive oil is regarded as a very healthy product. Some olive trees can have a 2,000-year lifespan. Tucked away in a castle on the Isle of Wight, off the south coast of England, retired electronics entrepreneur Rod Berman has built up a unique private collection charting the very beginnings of the electronic age.
Here's a chance to see some of the...
Some people collect stamps, but Rod Berman has a passion for valves, the electronic kind also known as tubes. His collection charts the early history of electronics. There are almost 1 million valves in his collection. One of his most prized items is a Fleming diode from 1889. Various early researchers had experimented with filaments in a vacuum, but it was the British scientist Sir John Ambrose Fleming who was to discover its full potential. Another interesting piece is this spark transmitter. Invented by Marconi, it was the heart of the early radio system. It blasted out waves across all frequencies and could only be used to transmit Morse code. It was only after Fleming realised that the valve could be used to amplify the very weak radio waves that the modern radio system, transmitting on particular frequencies, was able to evolve.
And he called it a valve because it would only allow current to pass in one direction. And that's where the name valve came from, and why in the UK we call them valves, or the Americans call them tubes, which are short for vacuum tube.
By the 1920s, valve radios had started to appear. In 1927, the forerunner of the integrated circuit appeared when the Loewe company developed a single valve, the Loewe 3NF, that incorporated 3 triodes, 2 capacitors and 4 resistors in a single glass envelope.
The reason it was done like that was that in Germany at this time, and that was 1927, there was a tax on radios depending on the number of valve holders in the set. So this only needed 1 valve holder, so you paid less tax.
Rod Berman's collection has spread to an entire wing of his castle. He only has enough room to put roughly 5% of his collection on display. His visitor John Hounsfield says anyone collecting so many valves must have a unique mind.
Well, I think this is absolutely incredible. You've got to have a very special brain to be involved in all this. I understand that he has over 250,000 valves here.
As the tour approaches its end, Berman has another historic invention to show his guests. Called Geissler tubes, they were invented long before valves. An electronic current travels through the tubes containing different types of gas. The gas ionizes and glows. Today we know them as neon lights, named after one gas which glows with a bright red colour. This very large valve comes from an old radio transmitter. It was required to amplify the modulated radio signal to a very powerful voltage. But things have come a long way.
Well, it's a mobile phone package that's got access to the internet via the mobile phone network, and it all started with a few sparks and a coherer over 100 years ago.